Welcome back to Let's Play AI, the Somnium files. Last time left off, we explored the possibility that Iris could have killed Renju over at Sunfish Pocket, seeing that Ota witnessed her leaving the place with him, and after that we decided to interrogate her, and she acted all sorts of suspicious. So we entered her Somnium, where we saw all of the gruesome murders that took place 6 years ago, committed by the Cyclops Killer, as they decided to call him. And for some reason, he seemed to resemble Date over here. Or should I say, the body in which Date is currently. Yes, I am pinning it down completely. Date is not in his original body, at least his personality isn't. I am almost 100% convinced. First of all, we know that Date has some of Falco's memories, which means that this body synced at some point with Falco, and Falco was the syncer, and this body was the one he synced with. Proof A, the left eye missing. We know that the prototype of the device requires the removal of the left eye, and we also know that you should not go over 6 minutes while syncing. If you do, the syncer and whoever he syncs with would have their consciousnesses merged. Now I am not sure whether whoever inhabited this body previously is currently in Falco's body, also known as inmate number 89, but this would also explain the memory loss. I believe that Abyss is currently administering the medication to Date with Ibara's help, and that is making him forget his past, because they want to suppress the serial killer inside of him, at least make sure that it doesn't come back. Boss mentioned that she knew Date before the 6 years ago timeline, which would most likely make Falco an police informant who was investigating Rohan back in the Yakuza, and something probably went wrong, and that is why Hitomi found him bleeding and they started dating. And after some time, whoever the Cyclops Killer is, i.e. the body that we are currently controlling, was sent after Falco, and he most likely shot Hitomi. And after that they decided to sync, and well, something went wrong and the 6-minute time limit was reached, and well, we are at our current predicament. Anyway, I am almost convinced that that is it. The only thing I am not sure about is why would Renju help out inmate number 89 if he knows that his friend, i.e. Date or Falco, is currently in this body, seeing that we had all of those interactions with him here in Marble. The only thing I can think of, and this is really far-fetched, is that the Renju that we are currently dealing with in the present time is not Renju, but someone else's mind. And I kinda think it's Shoko. Because let's be honest, Shoko is a piece of shit. I mean, let's just look at her character profile. Likes to be envied and praised. Skills, lying and cheating. Excuse me, what kind of piece of shit person was this? And I think she swapped bodies with her husband and after that murdered him. I mean, if that turns out to be true, then sheesh. Anyway, let's just get back on track. To my surprise, I saw Ota sitting at the counter.
Oh, Ota.
Well, you look bored. I guess you don't like that Data is together with Iris again. Anyway, we came to Marble to have a discussion with Iris, but for some reason, Ota is here judging us. You called Ota here?
No, I didn't tell him to come. He just showed up on his own.
Isn't your phone broken? How were you communicating with Iris?
No, this is my new one.
Oh yeah, in the other timeline he mentioned that he went to Akihabara to buy a new phone.
You're thinking of the one I dropped in that puddle.
Speaking of the other timeline, I do believe that we don't have the agreement with Aiba for the self-destruct sequence, that being the number and the lie that we have to tell in a minute after it. I never thought I'd run into you here.
I was nihiling with Tessa earlier.
I know.
She said she was going to Marbles, so I got here just before you did.
I do wonder what that thing was that Ota mentioned in the phone conversation.
Look, I was really worried about her. She was about to be charged with a serious crime.
Where is Mama?
Oh, she left a little while ago. She said something about going to help an acquaintance. She told me to watch the place until she got back.
How well do you know Mama?
Not at all. It's my first time here.
I wasn't particularly surprised. Mama's always dependent on the kindness of strangers, ever since she opened Marble. What was that thing about?
This actually works out nicely. I want to ask you something, Ota. It's about a Nile message you sent Iris. You said you wouldn't tell anyone about that thing, that you'd stay quiet no matter what. What were you talking about?
Well,
I'll tell her about the two-witter thing. I swear I'll do it.
geez, fine. Just don't tell anyone else, okay?
So it's not that big of a deal?
But before I tell you, who's that?
What?
At the door. Someone's standing outside.
What? Oh shit, it's Pewter. Oh no. Fuck. What? Okay, what is going on? Monday, Jukai. Marble. Oh my god. That's not Iris, is it? That would also explain why her memories were of the murders. Because those were not Iris's memories, oh my goodness. Who is currently in Iris's body?
Where am I?
My head was killing me, and my memory was foggy. I felt a sudden pain in my neck. I shot up, rubbing my neck. When I looked over the counter, I saw a monster staring back at me. It took me a few seconds before I realized it was just Mama.
Looks like you're awake now.
As Mama spoke to me, it all came rushing back. I remembered everything. Is it Shoko again? Did she switch Renju's body and went over to Iris now? That would also make her the accomplice of the Cyclops killer, the one we saw. Again, just adding to my theory. There is a TV on the wall. So is Aibara okay? Where is Ota?
Ota, the boy I asked to watch the bar?
I'd say he's too old to be called a boy, but yeah.
He was already gone when I came back. All I saw was you getting your beauty sleep on the floor.
Damn it, Ota. What are you thinking?
It appears that he took off with Iris.
What were you doing during all this?
My power was shut down due to the stun gun. I have rebooted in safe mode and am now operational.
Also, I was thinking about why the timeline is different currently. And the only reason is because Renju did not get into the accident. So he was able to meet up with Iris. And if my theory is true, well, I should probably call Renju Shoko. But we'll have to see about that. What time is it?
It'll be 3 o'clock soon. In the morning, of course.
Why didn't you wake me up?
I tried. You wouldn't budge. I thought you were passed out drunk, so I left you like that.
But I didn't have a glass in front of me, right?
So you weren't drunk?
Didn't have a single drop.
Oh, I thought you were drinking straight out of the bottle. Just like the old days.
Date, the boss is calling.
Oh, how am I gonna report this one?
Date, listen. Stay calm, but this is an emergency. Just now, the killer... Well, just watch the video. I sent
What?
the address to Iba.
Again? It's the left eye again.
Iris.
She's alive!
No, that's...
The criminal is streaming this live.
Iba, the source.
Identified. The Okiura Fishery Cold Storage Warehouse, Koto District.
Okiura?
Date, focus. We need to get to the site, now.
That place again. I thanked Mama and ran out of marble.
What's our ETA?
Our destination is far from here. 20 minutes at the fastest.
Please, please let me make it in time.
Someone synced with her again.
That sick bastard.
What the fuck is that, a polar bear? What the frig am I looking at?
Tessa!
Ota?
I'll save you!
Ota.
Stay away from Tessa! Ah!
What happened in that time frame when we were out? I kept my foot on the gas the whole time. I could feel the sweat on my palms. The engine raised a high-pitched scream, but I could barely hear it. My heartbeat was pounding in my ears, shaking me to the core. How much time had passed? The feeling of time itself had disappeared. Eventually, the car reached a long bridge. Shortly after, the image changed.
No, it can't be. No. Stop!
My god, they showed... Ah, no! Jesus. Who the fuck is that?
No!
Can Iris catch a freaking break? Ota.
Ota.
Okay, I'm confused.
There you are. Finally. I was looking all over for you. It's rare to see you down like this, but it's understandable. You blame yourself for this, don't you? Beating yourself up about taking Iris to Marble, and about letting Ota get the upper hand on you. Am I right? Shall I tell you what Investigation HQ thinks? Ota Matsushita is a criminal stalker who committed murder-suicide.
Have we found Iris's body as well?
Ota had a selfish love for Iris. He was under the delusion that Iris loved him too. But Iris refused Ota. So Ota decided that he and Iris should be together in the afterlife. Killed her, then killed himself.
That's ridiculous. Ota would never kill Iris. And how do you explain the other two murders? Iris's left eye was hollowed out. Just like Renju and Shoko. Those three murders were definitely executed by the same person. The new Cyclops killer. There's no way that's Ota. Too many pieces don't fit. Too many contradictions, like killing Iris.
Such as?
Again, I don't have enough information on... Do we have Iris's body? And why the hell would Ota get into the bear costume, raise the lever, take it off, act as if he was saving Iris, then put the bear costume back on, flip the switch again, and then commit suicide the same way? Why would he even live stream it? Ota's behavior during the video.
Stay away from Tessa!
As if someone
Ota
else was
showed
there.
himself on the stream. If he was gonna kill Iris and then himself, why would he do that? The only reason you would show yourself like that is to prove that you weren't the culprit.
And he killed himself.
Ota and the polar bear on the screen at the same time would prove that they're not the same person. That behavior would be totally unnecessary if he was gonna commit suicide anyway.
Well, maybe he wasn't planning on dying at first. After he killed Iris, he realized that he couldn't live with himself.
So he lies down on the workbench and turns on the ice-cutting machine himself? I don't buy it.
Ota had no incentive to kill Renju.
Maybe he was thinking like this. The reason Iris and I can't be together is because her agency prohibits it, making the president, Renju, the ultimate bad guy in his mind.
Mizuki is Ota's close friend. Do you really think Ota would kill his friend's father?
What about the polar bear costume?
The culprit was wearing a polar bear costume, probably to hide their identity. But if murder-suicide was the plan, the costume served no purpose.
Ota had no incentive to kill Shoko.
Shoko was married to Renju.
Ota did not know that.
Maybe he was trying to get at Renju by killing her.
That's a stretch. They've been divorced for years. Ota knows all about it. He wouldn't use Shoko to get to Renju.
There are some additional discrepancies. I analyzed the investigation report. Judging by his wound, Ota was stabbed in the side by a kitchen knife or something similar.
What?
Are you sure?
I am.
I told the boss what Aiba found.
Oh, I know that.
Well?
Ota could have stabbed himself.
What is with this logic, boss?
Maybe he thought it would be a fatal wound, but when it didn't work, he went for the ice-cutting machine.
Then, shouldn't we have recovered the kitchen knife from the scene?
Maybe he threw it in the ocean.
Something is wrong here.
Boss, come on. Ota goes out to the water, stabs himself in the gut, throws the knife over the side, then walks back to the warehouse?
Well, I wasn't being serious. I didn't think Ota was the culprit from the beginning.
Boss, 2 people are dead. What the fuck is wrong with you?
I was just playing devil's advocate for HQ.
Really?
Yes, really.
Anyway, Ota didn't kill anyone, and he didn't kill himself. Here's what I think happened.
Stay away from Tessa!
Ota knew Iris was kidnapped, so he rushed onto the scene. That's when he saw the culprit wearing the polar bear costume. He tried to fight him off, but ended up being stabbed in the side. He was weakened and losing blood at the culprit's mercy. The culprit forced him into the costume, then under the ice-cutting machine. And then...
Then, who is the culprit?
I wish I knew.
We're up to 4 victims, but Ota was a special circumstance. He wasn't specifically targeted by the culprit.
Right. And he was the only one to not have his eye pulled out.
So let's focus on the 3 other victims. Shoko, Renju, and Iris. What connects these 3?
Connections.
I mean, he told me, but...
If you find a connection between the victims, you find a connection to the culprit. That's the theory of investigation, right?
You think the new Cyclops killer is related to them somehow?
Maybe, maybe not. But it's a good starting point.
Renju and Shoko's daughter, Mizuki.
Mizuki has the strongest connections with all 3 victims. Shoko and Renju were her parents, and she was close friends with Iris. She was good friends with Ota too. But that's why I could never believe Mizuki would kill all 4 of them.
And we kinda already confirmed that Mizuki couldn't have killed Shoko. She entered the scene with Ota and found her mother's dead body. And she cannot drive a car, so let's just stop thinking of Mizuki being the killer.
Thinking of her as a suspect is ridiculous.
Absolutely. Iris' mother, Hitomi.
Hitomi and Renju are definitely linked. They were high school classmates, and she did say that she met Shoko twice. But I can't imagine she would kill Iris in such a gruesome way. No matter what the circumstances were, it seems impossible to me.
Ota's mother, Mayumi.
Mayumi had motive for killing Iris and Renju. Mayumi hated Iris, and she didn't think well of Lemnis Gate either. And since Renju is the president... Anyway, the weak point is Renju's ex-wife, Shoko. I can't imagine why Mayumi would kill her, and above all else, she would never harm her only son, let alone kill him.
Moma.
Renju and Shoko were connected to the Kumakuras, but there's no connection to Iris.
Well, other timeline, yeah, but he's an ASAT fan. So Sejima.
Renju, Shoko, and So. There is a connection between Renju and Shoko through the Kumakuras. But again, I can't see any clear link to Iris.
Once again, there is one through Hitomi, but we don't know what. Me.
I know Renju and Shoko, and I'm connected to Iris, but I have an alibi. Aside from Shoko, there's no way I could have killed any of them.
It's weird that you are even questioning this, Date, you know that.
No, Now that I think about it, Shoko too. I don't remember killing her. My memories from 6 years ago are missing, but I still have my memory of recent events. And if I start doubting myself now...
Date, I can say without a doubt that there is zero possibility you are the new Cyclops killer. I have been working with you for years. I know better than anyone that you are innocent.
Thank you, Aiba.
I thought it over, boss. Of the people I know, I can't peg any of them as the murderer.
And no leads to pursue?
No.
Then there's only one thing you can do.
Again, Dante said that no one alive who we know can be linked to the murder. We know that number 89 is currently still in prison, since Renju did not help bust him out. I think we can just ignore the NPCs. I hope. Rohan is dead, but once again there is a possibility that he is in someone else's body that we don't know about, but let's just ignore that for now. Moma, Mama, Pewter, Boss, So, Miu Miu, Shoko, Renju, Mizuki, Hitomi, Iris, Aiba, Date. It really is Shoko going around killing people.
Continue your investigation. Do whatever it takes to get the culprit. To get justice for the victims.
You're right. Got it, boss.
Again, just... Boss was acting weird. Especially with her theories. I stepped into the cold storage warehouse. The air conditioning wasn't running, but it was still cold. The temperature hadn't raised much at all. The cold air sunk into my skin, but the center of my body was burning hot. Iris and Ota were sliced in two by the size-cutting machine. Iris and Ota.
Iris's estimated time of death and cause of death have been confirmed. The video was not a recording. It was a live stream, filmed in real time.
Which means Iris's time of death is 3:20 a.m.
Why do it in such an extravagant way? Why make a show out of it? Is this Ota's blood? It could be where he got stabbed. Any clues?
No, nothing so far.
The box. Another box. Shelves.
Is this warehouse not in use?
Oops.
There are only a few items on the shelf.
Is this warehouse not in use?
Well, we know that it was used by Renju's grandfather, but he didn't inherit it. Any progress on the investigation?
I checked this place point by point, but didn't find nothing.
A
It is
video camera and laptop.
the ones that were being used as the live stream equipment.
This is what the criminal used to stream. All of these items have been bought from pawn shops and thrift stores. It would be difficult to determine a suspect from them. I have logged into the Wi-Fi in this warehouse. Okiura Fishery Co., Ltd. is listed as the owner. However, I found the password written directly on the router. Anyone who saw it could have used it. This forklift is old. It does not appear to be functional. It has not been moved in some time.
I think this is the forklift that we found Iris's body in the other timeline. Bloodstain. Ota's blood.
Right here. Iris and Ota were...
I am sure you are already aware of Ota's time of death.
just before I arrived. About 3:30 in the morning.
And the cause of death.
Being cut in half.
Right, about that. Ota had a stab wound from a kitchen knife in his side.
Correct.
What was the exact cause of death? Was it the knife wound or...
I cannot determine that. I can conclude that the knife wound was at least close to being fatal. Even if Ota was still alive on the workbench, he was certainly on the verge of death. If he weren't already extremely weak, we would expect to see more signs of struggle. Iris also had her left eye removed.
Yeah.
And like Renju and Shoko, Iris's left eyeball has not been recovered.
Maybe Ota was trying to help Iris, jumping at the criminal. That led to a scuffle and Ota ended up with a knife wound in his side. He lost all his power to fight back. He was forcibly put inside the costume, then finally cut open by the ice-cutting machine.
But why? Why did the culprit put the costume on Ota?
Unknown. I have done some research. As the name suggests, the company is owned by the Okiuras. The same Okiuras we know. Renju's father created the company.
Another connection to Renju.
Oh, okay, it was the father, not the grandfather.
No, actually.
I think Mizuki mentioned her grandfather, that's why I am confused.
Currently, Okiura Fishery has nothing to do with Renju. The company has been managed by office representatives for the past 17 years after Renju's father died. Renju holds no shares and is not involved in the management. In short, Renju did not inherit the company from his father, and it was instead given to other persons.
But it can't be a coincidence.
It certainly is suspicious. Date, we should get moving. Officers from the local jurisdiction are checking the warehouse thoroughly. We will not find anything of importance here.
Yeah, you're right.
You can ask CSI to inform you if they find anything.
All right.
I am heading out. Let me know if you find anything. I let them know, then left the warehouse. When I left the warehouse, I saw Pewter. What is he doing here? He walked up to me while I was trying to work it out.
Date, I have to talk to you about something.
Huh?
About the original Cyclops serial killings.
Why this all of a sudden?
Because I want you to solve this case, Mr. Date. I want you to find who did this and bring them to justice.
It's because of Renju, isn't it?
So, if I can help you, even a little.
Why didn't you say anything at Abyss?
Because boss.
The boss was there. I couldn't speak openly in front of her. So, I decided to meet you here.
All right, let's hear it.
Earlier, I told you that I was completely certain the original Cyclops killer couldn't have committed these crimes. I am absolutely certain the original Cyclops killer could not have committed these crimes. Let me explain why. I'll start by telling you the identity of the Cyclops killer, although it's more accurate to say killers.
So there really were two of them.
More than one?
In the first series of killings, the culprit had an accomplice. One of them was born a murderous psychopath. The other is Rohan Kumakura, the previous chairman of the Kumakuras.
Interesting.
They each had a role to play. The murderer committed the homicide, and Rohan removed the eyeball.
Why did the Cyclops case get classified?
That, I don't know.
The details of the original Cyclops serial killings case have become nebulous over time. Even the official investigation material contains nothing of value. I am unable to draw any conclusions from them.
You really have no idea?
If I did, I would tell you.
Who is the murderous psychopath?
He was born with a brain dysfunction. Due to damage to the posterior pituitary gland, he was unable to properly secrete oxytocin.
Oxytocin is a peptide hormone linked to feelings of love, affection, and trust. It is colloquially referred to as the love hormone. It causes a tranquilizing effect which improves mood and relieves stress. It is normally secreted when the body makes contact with an object of affection, such as an embrace or caress.
I'm sure you know what this implies, but he was unable to feel love in the way that we do. However, he was able to experience a substitute. His brain was wired in such a way that allowed him to feel satisfaction through other means. Due to the unique idiosyncrasies of his brain, he was able to release large amounts of dopamine and endorphins by performing a certain action.
What was it?
Appendix Analyst. Huh. Did I guess I reached some kind of percentage of the appendix.
Murder.
Dopamine is a hormone linked to the reward system of the brain. The pleasant feeling attained through accomplishment is dopamine. Endorphins are a kind of brain narcotic.
So just like most of the serial killers that we know of.
They dull pain and create a feeling of happiness.
He got pleasure from killing people?
It's slightly more complicated than that. Killing people was the only way he could get pleasure. He was 12 when he took his first life. That enlightened him to the pleasure of murder, which he would do again and again.
About Rohan.
18 years ago, Rohan took a woman's eye. She was already dead. He put his finger into her eye socket and gouged it out. The reason why was simple. He was fascinated by women's eyes. Their beauty stimulated his greed and his desire to possess them. He needed to have them, to make them his own.
That explains why they were all women.
Driven by this instinctive impulse, he took the woman's eye. From then on, he acquired a grotesque obsession with the eyes of dead women. He was very particular about his need that the eye belonged to a deceased woman.
So that is why they were killed before the removal of the eye.
But even being the head of a Yakuza gang, there weren't too many opportunities for him to indulge. His deepest, darkest desire went unfulfilled for years. However, he soon met his ideal partner.
A sick bastard.
The aforementioned psychopath. The Cyclops killer would commit the murder, and Rohan would take the eye. Thus, a mutually beneficial relationship was established. This was the origin of the Cyclops serial killings. At about the same time, you were assigned to Abyss.
Summarize for me.
The original Cyclops killer had an accomplice,
There were two Cyclops killers.
and one of them was the former chairman of the Kumakuras, Rohan Kumakura.
Rohan committed suicide by jumping to his death 1 year ago.
That means... Pewter, tell me this. One of the original killers is dead, I know that. But that means one remains. Who is he?
After his fourth murder, he was arrested by the police. They actually picked him up on other charges. But, in any case, he is currently serving a life sentence in Fuchu prison.
Fuchu prison?
So they are saying it's Falco.
Yes,
What's his name?
in prison he doesn't have a name. He is simply called Number 89.
Number 89.
I know who killed Shogun Adami.
So, now you know why I said that. That the original Cyclops killer couldn't have committed these crimes. Because one is dead, and the other is behind bars. Neither of them had the opportunity.
I guess Falco was looking a bit unsympathetic when we saw him playing with Iris. He kinda looked lifeless, but Well, anyway, Pewter gave us some things to think about, so let's head over to somewhere else. To the Date residence. Mizuki is curled up on the sofa. She looked like a small animal frightened by a predator. I wonder if the reason we aren't getting any extra dialogue by examining the surroundings is because of the more serious nature of this timeline, or if because I have already exhausted most of them. About Ota. About Iris. About Okiura Fishery Cold Storage Warehouse.
Mizuki must know about Iris and Ota.
Of course, the news was distributed heavily across the internet, not just in Japan, but worldwide. 3 days ago, Mizuki discovered her mother's body. 2 days ago, her father's. This morning, 2 of her best friends. It is completely understandable that she is at her mental limit.
Can I be left alone for a while?
Are you okay?
How could she be?
Yeah.
She certainly didn't seem so. But I cannot stay by her side forever.
Iba, contact Abyss. See if they can get Mizuki a good counselor.
Understood.
I stayed with her for a little while, but we didn't speak. Having nothing more to say, I left. When I visited the Sagan household, I found Hitomi with a hollow look in her eyes. She let me in and asked me to sit on the sofa. I agreed and sat down. But after that, I couldn't say a single word. The heavy silence weighed on both of us. Can you think of any information?
Hitomi, my entire focus is on this case. Is there anything at all you can tell me?
I don't know if this is important, but
No, please. Tell me.
I may have told you this already. I met Renju's wife Shoko twice before. The first time at the wedding, the second time a month ago. That second time was in the waiting room of the prison.
Prison?
There's an acquaintance of mine from when we were younger. I visit them a few times a year. And by coincidence, I saw Shoko. I don't think she noticed me, but I recognized her as Renju's wife right away. She was there for the same reason I was, to visit one of the inmates.
So, that just supports my theory of why she possibly broke out number 89 while she was in Renju's body in the other timeline.
Do you know who?
No, I don't. We didn't talk.
Which prison?
Fuchu Prison, in Tokyo.
It is. And Hitomi thinks that Falco is still in his original body, but Shoko knows that it's her accomplice. And I guess Shoko isn't really a woman, but either it's Rohan or the psychopath.
Fuchu.
But seeing as they are removing the eyes before the killing, it could be the psychopath.
Prison?
About Iris.
Iris was my everything. We always went everywhere together, whether it was buying clothes or going to the movies, or taking a walk, or going shopping at the supermarket. When she was young, she would just hold one of my fingers. Her hand was too small to hold mine. Then it was 2, then 3, and finally she could hold my hand. But eventually, she left my hands altogether. She started crossing her arms, being independent, even though she needed constant attention growing up.
about Ota?
Oda was one of my students. I taught him in elementary school. I heard it from the police. Oda tried to help Iris and ended up... I don't know what to say. I have no words.
About Iris.
Her memories are a part of this room. And always will be. When she was a baby, she fell off that sofa and cried and cried. One day she tore up her picture book all over the floor here. Another time she drew with crayons all over the window. She painted my portrait on Mother's Day. Scratches on the floor, chipped plates, burn marks on the table, stains on the cushions. Everything you see. It all holds a memory of her. But why?
I'm sorry to have bothered you. I'll be going now.
I don't know what to do. Thinking about her. Dante, please, you have to catch them. Please. Please.
I will. Trust me.
You cannot fake love. Hitomi is off the suspect list. Matsushita Diner. The place was silent. It was so quiet I felt like I could hear the floating dust. I stepped inside. I thought it was empty, but I saw a shadow in the corner of my eye. It was Mayumi. It was like watching a decaying old tree cling pathetically to the earth. I am sorry to interrupt. Do you want to talk about it? About Ota?
This is your fault. I heard from the police. Because you didn't take care of Iris, my boy Ota got involved.
Date, I looked into the investigation report. Mayumi confirmed Ota's body early this morning.
I see.
I'm sorry. I want to be alone right now. Did you not hear me? I said leave!
Date, let's go. She is in no state to talk.
Yeah, you're right.
Mayumi is crying. Why would the police tell her that it was specifically my fault that Ota died, that we couldn't protect Iris? I don't know, there is something weird about that. Marble.
Are you okay, honey?
Huh?
About last night. Well, at 3 in the morning, anyway.
You know about it?
It's on every channel. You have the face of a ghost. Do you want a glass?
I don't need a drink. I need information. Do you have anything?
Well, let's see. I do have... I suppose you could call it intuition.
Tell me.
Information about the incident.
The Kumakuras are involved in this case. Remember what I told you before? That there's a relationship between Ren and the Kumakuras? Shoko also has a relationship with them. You know about her dealings with the Kumakuras, right?
So basically, 2 of the victims are linked to the Kumakuras. That must mean they're involved somehow, right?
Not 2, 3.
3? Iris?
No, not that one. The boy.
Ota?
He came here last night?
Ota?
Yes, from Matsushita Diner. He's linked to the Kumakuras as well.
How is Ota related to the Kumakuras?
Have you heard the rumor?
Mama told me a similar story to Ibaz. About Sejima and the Kawasaki district. The basic idea is this. 8 years ago, So sold his land in the Kawasaki district for 30 billion yen. Half a year later, an explosion at the chemical plant caused the land prices to drop drastically. So bought back the land for 1 billion yen, almost like he knew beforehand that the accident would happen. Did So blow it up, or conspire to blow it up? No, that wouldn't make sense. So wouldn't gain anything from that. He would end up with 29 billion in cash and 1 billion in land. It's a net zero. But there is more to the story. About So and the Kawasaki district.
The Kumakuras own a handful of real estate companies. They of course look legit, but they're Yakuza fronts. I'll call those real estate companies the KE to keep it simple for you. The KE followed in So's footsteps. They bought up land in Kawasaki. Now, back to So. Have you heard of the plans for the casino in Kawasaki? So was the one who came up with it.
I was born and raised in Kawasaki. I remember the landscape of my childhood, and I loved it dearly. But look at Kawasaki now. When I see images of the destruction on television, my heart aches like it's being chopped to pieces. But I promise you, I will revive the Kawasaki district at any cost. Casino Town Kawasaki will give new life to the city.
After that, So moved fast. He submitted the bills he needed to the National Assembly after drumming up support in the right places. The bills passed, and it became an official government initiative.
Decontamination efforts therefore increased at a rapid pace in the Kawasaki district. At the moment, the area is still considered off-limits. However, the air in Kawasaki is currently purified to such an extent that it has no negative effect on the human body.
If the plan goes smoothly, land prices in Kawasaki are going to skyrocket. And all that land is owned by the KE. And by So himself. The land he bought back for 1 billion will be worth 10 times that soon.
He's involved in some shady business.
About So and the Kawasaki district.
This is just another rumor, but the chemical plant exploding was no accident. It was done intentionally.
By So and the Kumakuras, you mean?
But there's no hard evidence of that. It's just gossip.
What about Ota and the Kumakuras?
What were we talking about again?
Ota and the Kumakuras.
We still don't know much about Ota's father, do we?
Oh, right. You know how Matsushita Diner is close to the Kawasaki district? The chemical plant explosion made times hard. Foot traffic went down, sales declined.
That's weird. Mayumi kinda said the opposite, didn't she?
No wonder it closed down.
It closed down, huh?
Ota must hold a grudge. Someone caused that explosion. And if it was intentional, oh, he'd hate them even more.
So I guess his mother is a bit delusional.
That's how I link Ota to the Kumakuras.
Say goodbye.
Thank you, Mama. I don't know if what you told me will lead to anything, but...
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to waste your time.
No, it was very helpful.
I'm glad I can help, even if it's just a little.
Well then, Be seeing you.
Come back anytime.
Abyss HQ.